Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey is a film about consequences. Yes, it's an epic film with gods, monsters and breathtaking spectacle, but beneath all that lies something surprisingly human. Every decision has a cost. Every victory leaves a scar. Every step Odysseus takes towards home asks one timeless question: how much are we willing to sacrifice for the people we love? This is one of the oldest stories ever told, yet Nolan somehow makes it feel remarkably relevant today. The Odyssey follows Odysseus, played by Matt Damon, as he attempts to return home to Ithaca after the Trojan War. Across the Greek world, rumours spread that men have broken Zeus's sacred laws, bringing divine punishment upon those who sail the seas. What follows is an extraordinary journey through storms, mythical creatures, and impossible choices, as Odysseus battles not only the world around him, but also the consequences of the choices he's already made. Although set in 12th century BC, this never feels like a distant history lesson. Nolan grounds Homer's epic in recognisable emotions: love, grief, pride, greed, loyalty and hope. Strip away the gods and monsters and you're left with questions that still resonate today. At its heart, this isn't really a film about mythical creatures. It's about leadership, it's about responsibility, and it's about the burden of living with your decisions. Odysseus isn't portrayed as an untouchable legend. He's a leader forced to make impossible choices, and those choices often come at an enormous cost, not only to himself, but to everyone around him. The film constantly asks difficult questions. When does courage become arrogance? Can honour survive impossible circumstances? Can good people commit terrible acts in pursuit of something they believe is right? Christopher Nolan refuses to answer those questions for us. Instead, he trusts the audience to wrestle with them. And that's refreshing in an era where many blockbusters feel the need to explain every motivation and neatly separate heroes from villains. Here, morality is far more complicated because people are far more complicated. Matt Damon is superb. He brings the presence of a classic Hollywood leading man, but never allows Odysseus to become one-dimensional. This isn't a flawless warrior who always makes the right decision. He's intelligent, determined and courageous, yet also proud, impulsive and capable of making mistakes that shape the fate of everyone around him. Damon captures that internal conflict brilliantly. You admire Odysseus, you question him at times, and also you even find yourself sympathising with those standing against him. It's a layered, thoughtful performance that reminds us true heroes aren't defined by perfection, but by how they respond to the consequences of their own actions. And the supporting cast is equally impressive. Tom Holland, Anne Hathaway, Zendaya, Robert Pattinson, Charlie Theron all make meaningful contributions. No one feels like they're simply there because they're a famous name. Every character helps build a world filled with shifting loyalties, ambition and humanity. Visually, the film is astonishing, with a reported budget of around $250 million and filmed almost entirely using IMAX cameras. The Odyssey feels every bit as ambitious as its source material deserves. And every penny feels visible on the screen. The sweeping coastlines, towering cliffs and endless oceans create a world that feels ancient, vast and genuinely dangerous. The sea isn't simply a backdrop, it becomes another character, beautiful one moment, unforgiving the next. Nolan uses scale brilliantly. Those enormous IMAX landscapes don't simply exist to impress us, they constantly remind us how small human beings are against nature, fate and the gods. Every wide shot reinforces the loneliness of the journey, the sacrifices being made, and the uncertainty surrounding every decision. And the sound deserves recognition, just as much praise as the cinematography does as well. At times it's intentionally deafening, the crash of weapons striking the ground, the terrifying force of the storms, the haunting cries of the Cyclops. Every sound places you alongside Odysseus rather than simply asking you to observe from a distance. You don't just watch the journey, you feel its violence, its exhaustion and its unpredictability. Yet Nolan also understands the value of restraint. The score never overwhelms the film. Instead, it quietly supports the emotion already unfolding on screen, allowing silence and stillness to carry just as much weight as the largest action sequences. The contrast between the overwhelming sound design and the subtle score creates a wonderfully immersive experience, particularly in IMAX. Adapting Homer is no easy task. Some viewers have questioned certain modern turns and phrases of dialogue suggesting expressions like mom or dad feel out of place in ancient Greece. Personally, it never really bothered me. These characters aren't speaking ancient Greek either. Nolan isn't creating a museum piece, he's creating a film for a modern audience. For me, those choices help bridge the gap between an epic written nearly 3,000 years ago and the audience sitting in the cinema today. Likewise, Nolan's decision to show events such as the Trojan Horse, which Homer refers to in the Odyssey through songs and recollections rather than depicting directly, feels like a cinematic choice that gives modern audiences important context without losing sight of the journey itself. If I did have one criticism, is that a handful of scenes on Calypso's island linger a little longer than perhaps they needed to. That's not because they're poorly made. Far from it. It's because by that point, Nolan has made us so invested in Odysseus' journey that all we want for him is to get home. Every delay becomes frustrating, which perhaps is exactly what Odysseus himself is feeling, whether intentional or not. I occasionally found myself eager for the story to move forward again. Christopher Nolan has taken one of humanity's oldest stories and reminded us why it has endured for nearly 3,000 years. This isn't simply a film about gods, monsters, or impossible journeys. It's about leadership. It's about sacrifice. It's about responsibility. It's about living with the consequences of our choices. Above all, it's about people. It's rare for a blockbuster on this scale to trust its audience as much as the Odyssey. Rather than providing easy answers, it invites us to reflect on difficult questions long after the credits have rolled. Visually breathtaking, emotionally engaging, intellectually rewarding. For me, this is one of Christopher Nolan's most thoughtful and ambitious films. I'm giving the Odyssey 4.5 stars out of 5. If I had to sum it up in 3 words, it would be human, powerful, and enduring. Thank you for watching and listening to Movie Shorts.